don't drive the car for 2 days.
Well, when you go in to turn the air conditioner on, you don't want to go in there with
Hold your breath.
yeah, you can hold your breath. Yeah,
I used them.
It's like
yeah,
Mercer.
they work real good. It's a cool
I
product.
had to do it 3 times in my
Yeah.
father's car, but
Yeah, sometimes you got to do it a couple times, but it does work.
So some of these solutions sound pretty intense. I think is similar to like what Chuck said with the wanting to be in there for like 72 hours and
Yeah.
not having the residents live there. Are there solutions that you have that don't put a person out of the place that they're living? Because I feel like that's also a difficulty.
Yeah, so the chlorine dioxide is the only time they have to leave. Now, I've done mold remediations where people are home the whole time. The stain remover that we use, I like the stain remover and the clear coat encapsulant because when you sell the home and you got white paint on a portion of your attic, now you got to tell that you had mold when you're selling a house, but it looks like you're trying to cover something up, you know? So to keep the wood its natural color and make it look consistent with the rest of the roof or the rest of the basement, I like the clear coat. In order to use the clear coat, you got to try to remove the staining, which you can't always do. Some staining is permanent, you know what I mean? But that stain remover, I got to wear a respirator when I'm using that too, so you don't really want to be in the house while that's going on. So sometimes I'll tell people, just leave the house for like 5 to 10 hours during the day while I'm working, and then we'll leave the windows open, shut the AC off, which
what was
you
the
don't
product
want
you
to.
guys were pushing, not you in particular, but the mold guys were pushing probably about 10, 15 years ago, X17, X22 or something. They used to spray on, you could just watch the mold disappear.
Yeah.
Is that still being used?
I haven't seen it in a while. Now there's like RMR 65 or something like that. That's a real good product. But it doesn't kill the mold or anything like that. It just removes the staining. What I do for people, because you can't always remove the staining. Sometimes you can get 80% of it out. It looks much better, but there's still some staining. So I'll do a swab test and send it out to a lab and ensure them that it's dead before I encapsulate it. You know what I mean? That's something that I do on every job. Not a lot of people do that, but I want them to have proof when they go to sell the house that it was remediated and killed. It doesn't mean that in 5 years, if they swab that place, they're not going to have mold on it. They probably will, you know? But they're going to have mold on it unforeseen with no stain too, because that's how mold grows.
And that stuff
you know?
used to be pretty cool because you have aged plywood that was oxidized for 30
Yeah.
years old. They would come in, spray that stuff all over, and it looks like, oh, they just had their house resheet.
Brand new.
It looked like brand. It would
Yeah.
just take all the oxidation and everything. But
Yeah.
like you said, may not have penetrated well and killed
Yeah.
everything, but it took the stain away.
What you
Yeah.
gotta do is you gotta look at it about 3 months later. You know what I mean? 4 months later and say, oh, it's growing right back. You know what I mean?
Well, that's why you put the encapsulant on it. So if it does try to grow back, that kills it, you know?
That's a spray you put on.
That's a spray. Actually, I found a product about a year ago, which is amazing. It kills the mold, it removes the stain, and as it evaporates, it leaves a zinc barrier on there. So it's 3 in 1. So it saves me on labor. So when I use that, I can price the jobs accordingly. Instead of having to spray it 3 times, just spraying it once, you know?
What do you do about like furniture and stuff? I mean,
When you're spraying,
yeah, because you can't get sometimes behind all the furniture,
so
so you're missing some areas, kind of.
well, if they have mold, let's say on a wall behind the couch, it's probably sheetrock, and that has to come out anyway. So you're moving the furniture to get that.
You're doing a lot of sheetrock work.
A good amount.